Hello everyone, my name is John Strickland. I'm the horticulture manager here at your San Antonio Zoo. Today we're going to have actually a two-part talk. So I'm going to start off talking about our annuals that we get in every year. We're about 14,000 in the spring, summer, for summer planting, and then we do it all over again in the fall. So right now we've got in all of our summer annuals. As you can see here, we've got zinnias, we've got petunias. We also mix in some tropicals. You can see a hibiscus in that pot. We got marigolds. These are gomphrenas. Bachelor's buttons is another name for them. We've got some euphorbias here. This is a great sun-loving. All this right here is, of course, in full sun. So we're looking at full sun plants right now. We've got moss rose. We've got angelonias. These are just put in, so they're not quite blooming yet. But give them another week or so, and they will be. Shrimp plants, gazanias. And we have, of course, mixed plantings of gazanias and marigolds. Hibiscus getting ready to bloom. Gazanias on the bottom. This is a porterweed. This is a great butterfly plant. This will get up real big and tall. And these euphorbias will hang over. This will be really pretty in just a couple of weeks. Another repeat here. We've got your juniper with your bachelor buttons or gomphrenas on the bottom of those guys. If you guys have any questions, chime in. As you can see, we've got some petunias. This is another mixed one. Well, these guys will get up big, and these petunias will cascade over. And that's what we like to do here. We like to make it, look really nice, really full, really different. Every pot's different. So that's what we like to try to do here at the zoo. As you can see, we keep going down. This is the porterweed blooming. Again, this is another one that the butterflies absolutely love. We use it inside the butterfly house as well. And again, these guys will be up big and tall in the back, and then your petunias will spill over, so it'll look really, really cool in just a few weeks. More petunias, gazanias here. The zinnias are great, beautiful colors. And this is your salvia, great guy. This is a Texas native. We'll come around the corner.
For everybody watching, this is a live Q&A so that you can have our professional horticulturists answer all of your gardening questions. We're going to kick it off right now with John and all of your plants and flowers and annual questions. And then we're going to move over to Katie, who's going to answer all of your vegetable gardening questions. So if you have any questions, start throwing them at us. We're ready to answer those.
Right. Got cosmos in the back, and again, the petunias will cascade over.
John, why don't you give us some basic 101 of flower planting, especially this time of year. Let's talk planter soil and pots versus ground, watering, sun, shade, all those things.
First thing we do with these guys when we rip out the old stuff in the fall is for the spring we will actually go in and completely turn the soil and add new topsoil and make it really rich, and add a fertilizer in here as well. We like to use a lot of organics, so we'll use Medina Has to Grow, also seaweed extract, and we'll also sprinkle in a little osmocote. And that makes this dirt real loose, real rich. If you don't chop up your soil and make it real loose, the roots will not want to expand out. They don't want to grow anywhere. If it's really hard, compact dirt, the plant just sits there. So that's why we turn the whole soil, fertilize it in. Once you get them planted in, of course, you give them a good soaking with water, and these guys have just exploded already. They're all getting ready to bloom. You see all the bloom plants up on top, and these have only been in here just a week or two, about 2 weeks maybe. As you can see, these petunias have already taken off. They've already started blooming.
How long do petunias live?
These guys will last all the way through the summer, and if it gets really, really hot, they do sometimes will poop out on you, maybe around August, and it gets really hot, and you may have to replace them, but they'll last a good long the summer.
What are some great plants to start planting right now in this Texas weather? We'll talk Texas to start.
The vincas, we have a few that are over on the side. We waited on the vincas because they like it really hot. So those are coming up. The gazanias that we showed you around the corner, those love it hot. The marigolds, a lot of the stuff that we have right now, these cosmos do really well in the heat. Then we also have a lot of the perennials that we use in with the pots and in with the plantings. We'll also do really well, like hibiscus, the porterweeds. This is just a repeat of the other planter. You see we've got the cosmos in the back, and the cocoons are going to be cascading over. And
I don't know if you can answer this, but Barbara wants to know, why won't her Esperanza bloom?
If it was last year, it should have bloomed because it was a nice hot summer. It should have been. We cut ours back to the ground every year, and that gives them all fresh new growth. That's a little bit of water, a little bit of fertilizer, and they've got to be in full sun. If you have them in shade, they're not going to bloom very well for you.
Do you know how big a rosemary plant can get height-wise?
We have upright, and then there's trailing. So the upright ones can get about 3 feet tall. The trailing will just cascade over. They don't, maybe 2 feet.
Karen wants to know what the temp here today. You know, today we're having a weird early April day. It is a high of 73 and a low of 68, and we are expecting some thunderstorms in a few hours. But ask us again in 20 minutes. It might be 90 and sunny. All right, I have a question for you, John. I have the world's worst green thumb. So what are some can't kill them, you do not need any experience, easy plants that I could take care of?
For inside your house?
Yeah, inside the house.
Mother-in-law's tongue, Sansevieria is really good. There's a lot of ficus species that will do really well. Even your basic ficus mintimanum, you find it in a sunny window, stick it by a sunny window, they're pretty tough. The spider lily is really, really tough. It makes, it's an evergreen, and there's a variegated one and a green one, and they have the little babies that end up underneath. Those are the guys that are really tough. Your regular pothos, ivy, of course, those guys are really, really good inside.
Lupe would like to know, what's a hummingbird's favorite plant?
Hummingbird, we do have a hummingbird bush. It's Anascanthus, and it's scientific hummingbird. It has little red flowers, really, really tough.
And Amber would like to know, what would be your recommendation for plants that would attract butterflies and bees?
Butterflies and bees. We use the pinta. We use rosemary, as actually when it blooms in the winter. The bees love it. On a warm day, the bees are all over the rosemary. And the pinta is really good for the butterflies. We use zinnias will attract them. It's bougainvilleas, the bougainvilleas that you see all over San Antonio, a little bloom in the center. Actually, the butterflies get on those. Porter weeds that I showed you around the corner with the purple bloom on the long spike, those butterflies love those. That's one of the favorites.
All right, Angela would like to know, how does the zoo decide which plants you're going to plant all around the zoo?
I come up with a list every year, and I know, since I've been here so long, for 21 years, I know what's done well in the past and what has not. So it's a trial and error sometimes, some years. And sometimes I try new stuff. Sometimes, we just go with the old favorites. So it's up to me to come up with a list and order it. And all this has been ordered months ago. This is all placed probably 2 to 3 months ago. And we get it in and we grow it and put it out right now. It's one of the busiest, actually.
Awesome. What about those pesky mosquitoes? Any plants that you can recommend to prevent mosquitoes?
Yeah, there's lemongrass, and there's also several different geraniums that you can find that are scented. Those guys do really good. You do have to be pretty close, so the geraniums will do better if they're on your porch or right next to your porch. The lemongrass needs to be out in full sun, so it's, if you were to sit out in your yard, you'd have to sit within 3 or so feet of those guys, so they don't extend out a long ways. So.
Awesome. John, do you want to head towards Katie now? And as we walk, maybe you can go over some of the areas and plantings that we have going on around the zoo.
Yeah. Since it's now warm, we've been putting in the plumerias. This makes the flowers that you see the Hawaiian lays made out of in Hawaii when you get off the airplane. So these guys have been dormant. They've been in our greenhouses all winter. You can see we strip the leaves off. They just sit there. They stay dormant. and then we'll stick them in the ground, give them some little bit of fertilizer and some water, and they will start to shoot up. You see that one actually right there has started to grow new leaves. So we've got several spots throughout the zoo that we put these guys in the ground and let them bloom all summer long. As you can see, this is the angel's trumpet, Datura. It's starting to bloom. It's loving the warmth and the mild winters that we had this year.
Can you repeat again which plant was the hummingbird's favorite plant?
There's actually a hummingbird bush, Anascanthus is its botanical name.
A hummingbird bush, Anascanthus.
You can see the pots here. We've been replanting. We've got petunias, we've got angelonias, we've got pentas. That's the penta right there in those pots is one of the ones that the butterflies love. We use that inside the butterfly house. It's just starting to crack blooms, as you can see.
John, are there any plants for pollinators that do well in partial shade?
That's a tough one. Most of them are more for full sun.
We've got some people watching from Michigan. She says it's 36 degrees there. Any plants that do well in super cold weather?
Since I'm not in that climate, we really don't have a hard freeze down here, so I'd have to get with, I'd just say get with your local nurseryman out there.
You guys can see as we're walking through, it's a little bit of a different view when the zoo's closed. It's very quiet.
These are shade-loving plants. This is impatient, so this is tucked up under some trees in this bush here. And this will all get planted with a different type of annual here as well. You can see the river ferns are coming back this spring. They get cut down every year.
Dominic would like to know if you ever plant milkweed for butterflies.
Yes, we have the Texas native species, and we also use the neotropical as well. Got our bougainvillea blooming up by the monkeys there, spider monkeys.
Hi, spider monkeys. You all can see this is just such a beautiful zoo. No matter where you go, if you don't see an animal right off the bat, you can see some beautiful foliage, and our horticulture team is always working really hard to keep this zoo looking gorgeous and lush and green all year long.
A lot of the stuff in here is really tender and tropical. Like these wine ties we pull out every year, the crotons, they cannot take a freeze at all. So this all gets pulled out and goes up to our greenhouses. And the ficus tree also will get pulled out because it can't take a hard freeze as well. And some of the stuff in here will actually stay. And it's just that what's hard to stays and won't take a freeze has to come out. You see our bananas are coming back this year. They're all popping out, getting warm. And they do make bananas here. It's mild enough where those trunks stay green. And by the end of the summer, you will have bananas coming out.
We're walking through our Amazonia area right now. We've got some dwarf caiman. For those of you that have been tuning in, we celebrated our capuchin's 20th birthday. There he is. Hi, Wiley. And all these gorgeous plants that you see in front of our exhibits, horticulture, every day. Karen would like to know, does it ever get cold enough that we need to cover plants with cheesecloth?
It helps a few degrees in some plants. We do that. If we know it's just going to get down to about 28, 27 degrees, we'll throw some cloth over. If it gets below that, it doesn't really help that much. See my bananas all coming back. There's actually bananas.
Oh, look, they're
on
growing.
the trees. You got some there and there. And again, every pot is different. And we do have problems with the squirrels, so if you see some plants messed up, that's what is happening. A lot of this over here is shade-loving stuff. We got the coleus, we got some impatiens. This is Moses in a boat. And like I said, every pot is a little bit different. We want it to look really nice. We don't want the same thing over and over and over.
This is one of my personal favorite areas. It's right here. This plant always has a ton of bees in it.
This is a Mexican honeysuckle.
John, Crystal would like to know, what are the highest maintenance plants that we have here at the zoo?
Anything that's a water lover. Your bananas, your gingers, your philodendrons, they require more water. So those guys take a little more care. It's not like a Texas perennial you can throw in the ground, water it once, and walk away from it.
Look at this. We've got some live in action horticulture happening right here. Surprise, you're on camera.
Hi everybody.
What are you planting?
Some petunias, some coleus, and caladiums, yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely.
See, keeping this zoo beautiful for you all.
You can see some of these are actual perennials that are coming back. You got a lantana that's going to come back. You got Mexican petunias that are coming back. This is a little red salvia that's going to come back. So all this is going to grow up, and in a few months will be a thick carpet over here. So he's actually just filling in the empty spots where we do just a few annuals every year.
Is there anything that we can do about the squirrels and the damage?
We are using blood meal, and it is working. The only problem is once you water it in a couple of times, it dilutes down, it goes away, you have to redo it. In saying that, you got to be careful if you have dogs, because they will want to investigate the blood meal. So if you have dogs in your yard, that may be a problem.
What are some of the lowest maintenance plants that we have?
Our cactus.
Cactus.
The cactus, the succulents that we use in pots, and then we have 2 cactus gardens here at the zoo. So those guys only have very little maintenance. You can see some of the pots are not done. We have more annuals that are cooking up at the greenhouses. So this front is completely empty. We have more annuals that are coming in. And again, you see squirrel damage there. That.
What's your favorite plant and least favorite plant, personally?
Favorite plant, palm tree. It's on my name tag. I love palms.
Oh, it is.
Least favorite, probably anything with horrible thorns. The cactus, some of the rose bushes are really nasty. Even though they're pretty.
Do you ever recommend planting bamboo?
No.
Why is that?
There are clumping bamboo and then there are running bamboo. The clumpers can be okay. The runners, you can have them start over here and they'll come up on the other side of your sidewalk. And if you have a neighbor that's got them on your yard, those that people complain that it comes into their yard, and it's really hard to get rid of.
All right. So where are we now?
We are near the Bistro restaurant, and this is where we have our Texas Water Smart Garden. And I'm fixing to turn it over to our senior horticulturist, Katie, who is in the garden now.
Hi, Katie. Do we maintain the trees here at the zoo as well?
We do. We do have a company that comes in and trims them, but we take care of them. We water them. We give them their fertilizers and all that.
All right. Well, thank you, John. We're going to move on.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hi, Katie.
Welcome. This is our bistro enrichment garden. Here we plant seasonal vegetables to help enrich our animals here at the zoo. For those of you who may have never heard of enrichment, enrichment is a little something extra that goes into an animal's exhibit. It could be edible, it could be something for them to play with or chew on or just tear to pieces. But it helps our animals stay happy, healthy, and whole.
Awesome. So again, for those of you watching, this is a live Q&A, and now we are here with Katie, our senior horticulturist, and she is here to answer all of your questions about vegetable gardening and growing food. So if anybody has any questions, start throwing those out there. But Katie, in the meantime, why don't you walk us through what you have growing here?
Certainly. Up front, we have an edible flower bed. So obviously sunflowers, we have cosmos, nasturtiums, chamomile, poppies, and lavender all having a party in this bed right here. When the seeds come out of the sunflowers, I'm really hoping it'll make some good enrichment for our birds department. Against the wall, we have a ton of rosemary. It comes back year after year. It's very hardy. This bed needs to be removed. But I have basil coming up here. Everything that's grown in these beds is grown from seed, either started in the greenhouses or direct sown. Our sugar snaps are coming up in the back, and if we get a little bit closer, you can see that we have some already ready to harvest. Right here. So these were started as seeds and they've managed to climb up the trellis taller than me. Next door, in this bed, we've got a lot of different lettuces coming up, as well as tomatoes and bulb onions. I hear that our elephants love onions, so I'm very excited to harvest these and share.
Jennifer is asking, is this garden a new addition to the zoo?
It is not, but we are trying to make ourselves known and become more involved in what the intention was in this garden, which was an enrichment garden.
Karen, I can actually answer that question. The question is, are we responsible, or is horticulture responsible for planting in where the animals are? Yes and no. So our animal care staff actually maintains anything inside of animal exhibits. However, we all work very closely with not just our horticulture team, but our vet staff as well, and make sure that any plants that go into an animal exhibit are safe and healthy, and if the animals do choose to eat them, that's okay. And if there's something that they don't eat, that it's something that we can maintain and continue to get assistance on from our horticulture team. Good question.
So this bed is a bit of a hodgepodge. We still have some leeks from the winter time that haven't given up yet. They're next door to even more onions. I've gone a little onion crazy this season. And then next to those, we have tiny brand new baby cilantro plants from seed. I direct sowed these and they're coming along. This is a different type of tomato from the one in the bed next to it. This is a little cherry. Then we have bell peppers on the right and jalapenos on the left, and that might sound like a bad idea to give jalapenos out as enrichment, but the capsaicin in the peppers, the chemical that makes them spicy, doesn't bother birds because they don't chew them or crush them, they just eat them. So it's safe to give a spicy pepper to a bird, it doesn't bother them.
It's also fun because some of our primates don't necessarily eat all of the enrichment that they are given, but rather they will use it as scent marking, and they'll actually rub it all over their bodies. And peppers are one of the things that they do that with, especially our capuchins.
This is a little spot that the broccoli was growing in, and we just gave that out as enrichment a week or so ago. So this hasn't been replanted yet, but it will be. This is one of the newest additions. I brought this fig tree down from the greenhouses, and it's flourishing in its new homes. That's very exciting to be able to get some figs out one day.
Crystal has a question. She would like to know what grows well in small areas that's edible.
Herbs grow really, really well in small containers. You could even do them in pots in your windowsill if you don't have any space at all. You could also do things like green onions, don't take up a lot of space. Chives as well, kind of the same family. You could do peppers. They will get tall, but they won't bush out very much.
Kim would like to know, what do we use to feed the plants?
Water and sunlight.
Water and sunlight. And what type of soil or compost do we use?
We get our compost shipped in, and we'll mix it for these beds. There's a lot of sand in here, and compost, and some regular old potting mix with perlite in it. So we make this very loose mixture because you need a lot of good drainage, especially for things like carrots. They need to be able to get down in that soil, so that's why we add the sand and the perlite.
Dominic's got dad jokes. Says make sure not to take any of those leaks on a boat. Bump. Good one. We do have a lot of our birds in the background. For those of you, Gilbert, you're asking about the animals making the call in the back. I'm not exactly sure which call you're talking about, but we have hundreds of bird species here at the zoo, and there are several that are being very talkative this morning.
If you'd like, we can come over and look at the herbs that we have along the back wall.
Katie, Jill would like to know why you wanted to grow plants.
I'm not sure. I mean, I did it, and it brings me so much joy when it's successful, and then to share that with people and animals, it's just a really feel-good thing to do, and it's healthy and helpful, and it makes me healthy and helpful, and I just love it. It's a wonderful thing to do.
And for those of you that saw this on our Facebook page, that saw us talk about doing this morning, you probably saw Katie in her picture with a huge bucket of spinach, and she had some carrots that she had picked that day just a few minutes before that photo was taken, along with the broccoli. And then we got to walk over and watch our elephants enjoy it. So it was like instant gratification.
Yes, and it was a shock, but at the same time, you're expecting it. But this huge head of broccoli was just popped into her mouth like a piece of candy. And weeks of growing this vegetable, and it was gone in an instant. And that was the whole point, was for it to happen exactly how it happened, and I loved that moment. That was awesome.
Awesome.
Back here, we've moved some pots into the garden so we could do herbs in containers, and we have lemongrass that's coming back. It got a really severe haircut. We have our thyme. This one looks kind of questionable, but it's oregano from seed. So you can see these teeny tiny little babies coming up. I'm gonna thin these out, and it's gonna be really successful, and all of these can grow really nicely. And I can smell them just touching them. Next to this is some parsley I inherited from another gardener. These gardeners love to share seeds and plants and cuttings. There's a few tiny little ones in here. This is actually catnip. And I'm not sure if catnip will be something that we can give out for enrichment, but I would love to see if our big cats would be interested in it.
We do, actually. We do give catnip to some of our big cats.
Wonderful. Well, now they'll have some fresh catnip. This over here is lemon balm. It's really taken off. When I started working in this garden about a year ago, it was maybe a fifth this size, but I cut it back and it's really taken off. This is spearmint. If you want to grow this, you might want to only grow it in a pot because it's very invasive and will take over an entire garden. So that's why he just lives in his little pot.
Can you tell us, do figs need a lot of water?
Yes, especially being in a container that dries out really fast. I have a friend who has a fig tree in her backyard, and her fig tree, I think there's actually a couple of them, and they're about the size of half of this garden. It's a huge, huge tree. She's got irrigation running through her garden, but any kind of fruit tree is going to take a lot of water because it has to produce the fruit.
Awesome. Well, while I have this shot on the camera right now, I know that there are some people that I know that are watching that I've seen pop up. So hi friends who are very particular about not wasting water. So can you tell us the story about this silo?
Yes, of course. This silo collects condensation from the air conditioner at the bistro restaurant. So all the water that collects from that AC comes into the silo, and we've installed a pump on the silo, and with this water we water everything in our garden. We don't use city water to water our veggies, we only use this silo water.
Amazing conservation happening right here at the zoo every day. Damien would like to know, what's the best way to grow and sprout hot peppers?
I recommend you do it from seed. Give them tons of water and tons of sunlight.
Awesome. Throw out your questions, guys. Oh, what's the best season for broccoli? From Jill.
Broccoli is a cool weather vegetable. So here in San Antonio, I was growing it all the way through the winter.
And Zayas would like to know, how and when do you harvest the herbs?
I harvest the herbs before they flower. If they flower, like my thyme is flowering right now, I cut the flowers off to promote more leafy growth. But as the herbs grow, you harvest, but never harvest more than 20% of the plant. I mean, you don't want it to not be able to bounce back after you harvest.
Do you have any tips on very shaded areas? Pamela wants to do an herbal garden, but she has a lot of shade. Any useful tips on that?
It's very difficult to grow herbs in shade. Almost all of them are going to need full sunlight. You might want to supplement sunlight with a grow lamp, if that's possible at all. But every herb that I'm thinking of off the top of my head takes full sunshine.
All right, Pamela, did you hear that? Herbs need a lot of sunshine. You can supplement with a grow lamp, or let's say that that's not what she wants to do. What would be some easy to grow items with shade?
That are not edible?
That are edible. Anything edible needs sunlight.
Let's see. Beets can handle a little bit of shade, but not much. Really, you gotta let the sun shine on your veggies.
All right, what about non-edible?
Oh, then you open up a whole world of possibilities. Tons of tropical plants can grow in shade. Begonias are beautiful and they'll flower. There's lots of different kinds of begonias out there. Any type of monstera is really popular houseplant right now that grows really well in shade. Vining things like pothos. Not a whole lot of flowering plants grow in shade, but there's some beautiful foliage plants. Things like Persian shield is a metallic purple plant. That's beautiful and it grows in the shade. There's just not a whole lot of edible things.
Bianca asked how long ago we planted the sunflowers.
About 6 weeks, maybe.
6 weeks
They
ago.
were started in the greenhouse as an experiment. Normally, they would be direct sown into the bed, but we thought, oh, let's start them in the greenhouse just for fun. And so I transplanted them after they got their first 2 sets of real, true leaves. And wow, they've really taken off. I'm very proud of them.
Katie, we talked last week when I was here about something that's going around the internet right now that is very sweet to see, but might not necessarily be true, is do sunflowers turn to each other looking for, I don't know, love and light
Let's
if they don't have
real life
sun?
example of the sunflower. We have the one that's facing us, and then next to him we have one facing away. It's a cloudy morning. They're not facing each other for warmth and sunshine. And then the guy on the other side is also facing away. So sad to say that's a really cute meme, but it is not true.
Andrew would like to know what your favorite animal at the zoo is.
Oh, my favorite animal is the okapi.
The okapi! We just did a Facebook Live with the okapi and one of his trainers a few days ago. So you guys will have to scroll back on our Facebook page and check that out. So you can learn what an okapi is if you've not heard of one. Any other questions for Katie about your gardens? Katie, do you grow a garden at home?
I do not grow a vegetable garden at home. I am full shade in my home, so I have a lot of those shade-loving tropicals and different types of foliage, but no veggies in my home garden.
Do we get a lot of caterpillars around here?
Only on the milkweed that has a tendency to pop up over here. Not a whole lot of caterpillars have been visiting my vegetables, so we provide them with a lot of other options here at the zoo.
And for those of you asking earlier, here's a little quick shot. We've got a Turaco and Araceli and some hornbills back there. So all kinds of fun noises happening. Dominic would like to know what mulch we recommend.
Oh, that's a great question.
What we use.
All of our mulch gets shipped in just like our compost, and I really don't know if it matters as long as you are practicing good mulching, because the point of the mulch is to suppress the weeds and help the soil to retain moisture. So as long as you're mulching, I think you're golden.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. We're going to wrap up. We'll do our best to continue answering questions that you might post in the comments.
Thank you guys. I hope to see you again. Stay safe.